One. Hi, everybody. This is Dylan Keuning, and welcome to our crypto chat with Stephanie Nickolich. And welcome today, Stephanie. Thank you for coming on the show and expressing all of your experience and expertise in the cryptocurrency space. I know that you have been in the space for quite some time now. So please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us how long you've been in crypto for, and then we'll kind of get into it from there.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here. There's nothing more that I love to talk about than crypto. I have been involved in the crypto space since the end of 2016. So 7+ years at this point. So I've seen some pretty dramatic evolution and really excited to share with people, what maybe the future holds for crypto.
Yeah, no, awesome. And I got into crypto like a little bit before you. I got in right around the end of 2015. So we both went through that very first bull cycle together. Well, our first bull cycle would have been the 2017 bull cycle.
Yeah.
And then the first one would have been the 2013 bull cycle. So Stephanie, do you want to kind of tell us what the halving means and what causes these bull cycles in cryptocurrency?
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, markets are cyclical in general, right? I mean, I don't think that anybody can really argue that. And so with crypto, it's predefined. Well, with Bitcoin, we'll speak about in general. It's predefined that there are only a max supply of 21 million coins ever to be mined. And that every 4 years, when this big event in crypto takes place, which is the Bitcoin halving, that half of the remaining supply can only be mined for those following 4 years. So we just had the halving. I think it landed on about April 20th, so just a couple weeks ago. And it took the remaining supply that can be mined daily from about 900 Bitcoin to about 450. So why is that, why is that substantial? People are probably wondering, because if the request for supply is greater, as especially as these big institutional players keep entering into the markets, they're buying more on some days than is ever being mined. So inherently, supply and demand, right? You would expect that the price would increase.
So what happens when there's no Bitcoin to be purchased on exchanges? What do you think will happen?
I mean, I think the price is going to go in a upwards momentum, and I think Bitcoin is closer than we think to becoming a fractional asset, because once we run out, we run out. And then what's going to happen? Maybe the price will not be attainable to purchase one Bitcoin anymore. I mean, I don't know what the price is exactly at the moment, but it's
Yeah.
around 63,
I
64.
actually have it right now. So today is the 7th of May, 2024. Our time is Eastern time at 10:45 a.m. The price of Bitcoin right now is $63,438 at this very moment. So obviously the price of Bitcoin does fluctuate, and it has been somewhat volatile over the last few months, but we've seen it kind of double in price, right? It was like in the 30s and kind of hanging around there for a while.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of shot up to like $70,000 and broke its all-time high. So whenever Bitcoin
Yeah.
does that, right? Whenever Bitcoin goes on these parabolic kind of runs, the altcoin market seems to follow, right? And we start to see these other altcoins sometimes outperforming Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, that's my love. I'm really big on altcoins, to be honest with you. Obviously, I started with Bitcoin or Ethereum, but total disclaimer, I really don't hold Bitcoin or Ethereum in very, very small amounts at this point, because I'm looking for like projects that are extremely undervalued. So it's a little bit of a riskier play, I would say. But I've been in the market for quite some time, so I've witnessed some things happen. Like the last 2021, let's take an example. So all-time highs for most coins were about November 2021, right? In the previous bull market.
Yeah.
And you saw some alts like what? Solana, Polygon, Matic, Avalanche, some layer ones that had tremendous growth. I think I read something today that said Solana went from a $750 million market cap to a $75 billion market cap in a period of months in the last bull market. I mean, that's a tremendous amount of economic energy. So I think it's when you're not like, when you're involved like me and you, like we really like we're pretty deep in crypto. I think we can consider ourselves crypto OGs at this point.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're getting up close into that decade mark now. I think that's
I think we are crypto OGs. Yeah, I really do. You know, when you've experienced like multiple markets, you've seen the unexpected happen. You've seen like crypto defy all odds in some cases with these tremendous like bullish movements, right? That you're just like, this could never be possible. And then we've seen it in front of our eyes.
And you know, to that point, Stephanie, based on what Solana did in the previous cycle is one of the reasons why I became so bullish on it, because when I saw it did what it did in the last bull cycle, I said, well, if it did that already one time before, the chances are it's going to be able to do that again. So when it dropped down and it went into like the $10-12 range, that's kind of when I was loading up as much as I possibly could. And I haven't really been buying much since then. But right now, it's kind of like around $150 actually.
Yeah.
So right now,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point that you make. So you were buying Solana, and this really applies to everything in crypto or any asset class, really. So you were buying Solana when there was a ton of fear and a ton of FUD, because if the price went to upwards of 300 and something dollars in the last bull market, all the way down to $10-12, that's a really substantial move down. And instead of saying like, I'm out, I give up, this is a scam, this doesn't work, this is going to zero, you were there filling up your bags, and now the price went back up to 150 roughly, and like that's already from $10 a 15x on your money. So this exists here. I don't know any other asset class that I'm aware of that really can have such tremendous movement in such a short period of time.
Right. So yeah, exactly. And so Solana is my second biggest bag. And for me, I am a little bit of a Bitcoin maxi. I'm kind of like Michael Saylor in a lot of ways where you know, I feel like a lot of the cryptos, for me at least, this is my own opinion, they are a little bit of a question mark, and I understand that there are a lot of cryptos doing a lot of different things and solving a lot of different problems. And my worry is that just, you know, we end up having something with like the SEC coming along, claiming that one of these cryptos is a security or something like that. And then all of a sudden, you know, it ends up pancaking and then you're holding a bag. And, you know, that's kind of one of my biggest fears. So I actually did own a lot of Ethereum at one point. And so if I got in 2015, I was buying Ethereum when it was under $100 on Ethereum. And I kind of rode up the last bull market to where it was at a very, very high number. And I converted a lot of that Ethereum into Solana, as I mentioned, like when it was around 10, 12, and $15 more or less. So yeah, that's my second biggest bag, and Bitcoin is my first, but I do also have a lot of altcoins as well. And I used to be the guy that was investing in these really awesome projects with amazing utility and were gonna revolutionize the world. But I was just noticed kind of in the last bull market that they didn't do as well as these shit coins, you know, like these dog coins and these
Some of them.
frog coins, and there's, you know, all kinds of ones.
Now it's cat coins. Don't forget the cat coins.
There's a crow with the knife right now that's been on a parabolic run.
It's crazy. It is. It's also, I would say, meme season on Solana. Like there's a lot of Solana memes are coming out. And I think partially because it's so cheap to transact on Solana, you know?
Right.
So
The Solana
really expensive on Ethereum.
to create NFTs, and I just actually started getting into buying and holding NFTs and minting NFTs, obviously just because
Yeah.
we're about to get into this bull run. So I'm expecting NFTs to kind of blow up kind of the same way that they did as well in the last bull run as well. And I'm hoping to make a little bit of money there because there's gonna be quite a bit of excitement, I think, in that space as well. So yeah, on the Solana network, the NFTs are so much cheaper to mint the NFTs, to transact and sell them and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just think if there is any Ethereum killer out there, and I was watching a video on YouTube of somebody who was much smarter than me, going through all of the tokenomics about why already Solana is outperforming Ethereum in a lot of ways. Obviously, not just with the gas fees, but they have just so many more things and applications and a huge community where I think that if there is any kind of coin that could become an Ethereum killer, I think that Solana has a very, very strong chance of becoming that guy. So Steph, what I do, sorry.
I think the cool part of this all is that because we're still very early to this, like, so Ethereum was launched, I don't know, roughly, let's say 10 years ago or something. And so they didn't understand the issues that would exist today when they launched Ethereum, like scalability, right? Like things like that, like speed and block size and things that are happening, which allows for opportunity.
Exactly.
So Solana was a predecessor to Ethereum. It's a lot newer than Ethereum. So it could solve the problems, a network like Solana. There's so many other layer one networks that are emerging that have, I think, great ability to not compete against Ethereum, but take some load off of what's causing the bottlenecks and the problems. Because if we want blockchain to really be utilized in every aspect of our daily lives, which I believe that it can be, in future years, I mean, it might take decades to see that, but I believe we are headed in that digital direction.
Right.
Then there needs to be other players in the market to share the load of transactions, because like credit card transactions, they're processing like hundreds of thousands a second. And so it gives opportunity to other chains to be launched that can solve the problems of their, earlier chains.
So what you're saying is that crypto, in a sense, is essentially working with the banking industry and it's not replacing the banking industry, right?
Oh gosh. I mean, I think that banks should open their eyes to partnership with crypto. And I know that there are some crypto coins that are really trying to forge a relationship between
Like
traditional finance.
XRP and others, right?
XRP, there's some other smaller coins like Fidium or Quanx, things like that, that are really working with the banking infrastructure to try to get them to the year 2024. I believe if banks continue to be resistant to crypto, that money will probably start to flow more into this asset class, which could create issues. So I don't know. We got to wait and see how it all pans out.
Yeah, but I don't know. I when I first found out about Bitcoin, I was very anti-Bitcoin. I was just like, this just sounds like a Ponzi scheme. There's no possible way that this is ever going to be around for more than a few more years. So I think I first heard about it in like 2013. And
I
by
heard about it in 2013 and I didn't even know what it was. I was like,
right,
what?
I was at a house party. We had just moved into this neighborhood in Miami, and my next door neighbor is like a crazy tech guy. His name is Jeff, and he had all these tech nerds over there, and they all knew about Bitcoin already, and they were
Yeah.
like all talking about block and they were blockchain and stuff, and I was just like, what are these guys talking about? I have no idea about any of this. And this guy was like, dude, you've got a little bit of money. You're a real estate agent. You should go and buy some Bitcoin. And back then, well, actually, Bitcoin it was in the process of going on this bull run right then in 2013. So it had
Yeah.
already gone from it being worth pretty much nothing to then it being worth a couple $100 or something like that.
$200.
And I was just telling him, I was like, listen, man, Kyle, you seem like a really nice guy, but I don't think you understand who the Rothschilds are and what the Federal Reserve Bank is. And these people will never allow a cryptocurrency to go and replace the United States dollar, or, for people to go and transact, value in between each other. I was like, this is never going to work long term. And and he was just like, it's cool to be skeptical. And he was like, you seem like, quite a little bit about fiat currency, but he's just like, this is just something completely different. And he was talking about it being decentralized, right? So when he was talking about it being decentralized, that was when I started to really pay attention. And I was like, all right, so what exactly does decentralized mean? And he was like, well, what that means is that you don't have any kind of uh, country, any kind of bank, or any kind of company or organization that's like has to basically accept a transaction. Like he's like, think about if you were going to go and send a Western Union to another country, like how you would be able to do that. And he explained to me in that moment, like if I was going to go and send $50 of Bitcoin right now, I would essentially go and send, 2 Bitcoin or half a Bitcoin or whatever, uh, to Argentina. All I would need was the person's wallet address, and I would send the value of Bitcoin, $50 of Bitcoin, and he was like, and it would reach them in 2 or 3 hours. And I was like, what? And then he was like, yeah, and that transaction would only cost like 50 cents. And I was like, okay, all right, I really understand this now. I'm really understanding how this could become a market disruptor. But when I was asking him, so who invented Bitcoin? And he told me, well, nobody knows. I was just like, well, I don't know about that, right? And he's like, well, it's a pseudonym, it's Satoshi Nakamoto and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I was just like, okay, well, all right, so okay. So, anyways, so then he explained to me as well that this guy was the person that was essentially mining most of the Bitcoin in the beginning, right? In the early days, as he was saying. And there's a wallet that still has a lot of this Bitcoin today. So I was just like, all right, well, we'll see how things transpire in the future. And then, yeah, it took me 2 years to kind of go and eventually go and buy Bitcoin. And obviously, I'm kicking myself because I should have been buying it when it was a couple
Yeah.
$100 or whatever. And actually, when it crashed after that 2013 bull run, is when I should have gotten. But yeah, I had to, they always say that you deserve to buy Bitcoin at whatever price Bitcoin is, right? That's what the
I'm with you.
old
I
saying goes.
I
But I
think that
understand that you're not
this,
really invested too much in Bitcoin because yes, there is a lot of money to be made in
yeah.
these altcoins that are running up at a much higher rate. And yeah, I mean that's kind of where it's at right now in the bull market. Steph,
I don't discount. You have a video to play?
yeah, I do want to just go ahead and play this video while we're kind of on the topic about money and fiat currency.
Yeah.
It's a
I'm
video by
excited to see it.
Michael Saylor, and I just think it's really, really interesting. I just think that everybody should kind of take a look. All right, one sec. So here we go.
Every fiat currency in the history of the world has gone to zero. The greatest fiat currency in the history of the world was the dollar, and the dollar has been losing 7% of its value every year for 100 years, which means if you do the math, you'll find that over the course of about 100 years, you'll lose 99.9% of your money in the dollar, and that's the best it's going to be. It gets worse than that. If you happen to be in Turkey or Lebanon or Argentina, you're going to lose 99.9% of your wealth in 25 or 30 years, unless you're in Venezuela, in which case you may lose it within 5 to 10 years.
The frog doesn't really feel the water boiling when it's just a temperature or two. But by the time that frog is cooked, it's too late. Even over the course of 30 years, which I imagine many people watching this channel are somewhere in that age range, will have lost a third of their wealth. Like Michael Saylor points out there, if you're in another country, such as Venezuela, it's happening much faster, in as few as 10 years in some cases. Next up, Michael Saylor talks about energy, and some of these stats are truly staggering. If anybody tells you that Bitcoin has no value, point them to minute 13 of this conversation, because this is the part where Michael Saylor talks about how much has been invested into just the mining aspect of Bitcoin.
Bitcoin miners have invested about $25 billion in capital to roll out many, many millions, 5, 6, 7 million of these mining rigs to generate 4 400 exahash. 400 exahash of digital power, which is backed by about 12.5 gigawatts of electricity.
Let me go over those numbers again real quick. You've got $25 billion spent on mining machines, and for that money, you get about 5 to 7 million mining rigs. To power all of those rigs, you need 12.5 gigawatts of power, and that generates 400 exahash. He goes on to explain what all that means in more concrete, easy to understand terms. If you were to take all of the energy that is backing the US Navy, you would need to increase that energy demand by 2,000 times to get what is backing the Bitcoin network. All of the energy backing the US Navy times 2,000 is what is powering the Bitcoin network.
All right.
Wow.
So yeah, let me just kind of stop that right there. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of share that with anybody who's new to the space. Obviously, if you don't understand what mining is, and you're not really understanding what's giving Bitcoin value, then I think that's a very, very good clip for you to see it, because Michael Saylor can explain it in a way that I can't, unfortunately.
Yeah, I love Michael Saylor. And I am an advocate for Bitcoin. Obviously it was leading the charge. It is leading the charge. I think there's still a tremendous amount of growth in terms of price appreciation with Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and I do believe, as I mentioned, I think it's going to become a fractional currency. For what, obviously one of the main functions is the fact that it's limited in supply. So what we're seeing with the US dollar, like a lot of other currencies, is that there's no stopping it, right? Essentially, they can print as much as they want, and that's where we're losing the value of our dollar. So, in order to kind of preserve your capital, for future generations, I think it's important to look at other asset classes, and crypto is obviously one that is, revolutionizing the digital landscape as we speak.
Right.
So, that was when I finally took interest in crypto, I felt like I had that aha moment like you, where I was like, wow, this is going to change everything. And there's this saying that says, change the money, change the world. And I really, really believe that. And that's why I'm still here, because I've been through some pretty horrific bear cycles. Like I think 2018, 2019 into 2020, it was awful. Like people were just like just leaving crypto in general because it hurt so bad.
Yeah.
But I stayed the course because I really believe in what is happening here. And now, we just got the first ever Bitcoin ETF approved on United States soil. Like nobody would have thought a couple of years ago that this would be happening.
Right.
So it just shows how much progress we're making.
Right. And it was 11 institutions that passed an ETF, right? It's not like it's just BlackRock and Fidelity. It was 11 of these major financial institutions that passed an ETF. ARK Investments, Fidelity, BlackRock, and as you mentioned, when their ETF was passed, they were buying more Bitcoin back then than the total amount of Bitcoin that's been mined in one day today. So yes, I'm in total agreement with you, and I do think that we are going to get to a point where Bitcoin's a lot harder to find, and I think as soon as that happens, and it's very, very difficult to purchase Bitcoin on exchanges, we're going to start to see Bitcoin go on this massive, massive parabolic run. And in the past, we've seen the altcoins kind of follow Bitcoin when it does that. So we're just about to have that happen, and we're only like a couple weeks since the halving happened. So we're literally moving out of this last little phase, and as soon as Bitcoin makes its way back over 73,000 again, we should be
I don't think it's going to stop.
skyrocketing to the moon, basically, and right up to $100,000. So yeah, for anybody who's interested in getting into the crypto space, Steph, do you think that this is a good time for them to make some small investments into the cryptocurrency world?
I think there's no better time. Like, obviously, like we can sit here and say, oh, we wish we got involved in 2013 and not 2016 or 2015, but there's no better time than now. There was a pullback, which gives a lot of opportunity to the market. And do your due diligence, do your research, figure out what works for you. I recommend putting together a plan that's like on a schedule. Like, let's say you want to commit to $100 a week or $100 a month or whatever it is. Make a commitment to buy a certain amount of Bitcoin or a certain amount of Ethereum, whatever coin you like, or Solana, or whatever one you like, or a couple of them. And do it every week. Do it every week, regardless of the price, because you will be accumulating assets that inherently are going to go up in value over time. It's not like if your portfolio goes down by a couple of percent and you're having a heart attack, then you're overexposed, because there is a lot of volatility, but with volatility comes a lot of opportunity. So, I couldn't be happier than I am now to be in this space. I think we're about to see some monumental stuff happen right in front of our eyes in the next coming 12 to 18.
I had a goal before this bull run that I wanted to have enough capital to go and purchase a Lamborghini, and I already have that capital now, and we haven't even begun this bull run.
Yes.
So excited for what the rest of this market has to bring. And now that I have that money, I don't even want to cash it out, out, obviously.
Now you don't even want to buy a Lamborghini.
And I'm like, no, that's stupid. I just want to keep it in the crypto now, right? That's
exactly
the plan. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on to the Naked Truth with Dylan and cryptocurrency here today. Is there anything else that you want to share with the listeners before we go?
Reach out to either one of us. If you have any questions, like, we're really approachable. I love helping people get started in crypto. I feel, if you haven't noticed, I think I can say for both of us, we feel really passionate about this space. We have a lot of knowledge. It really hurts my heart when people get scammed in crypto, but I believe that people get scammed in crypto because they are not educated about crypto, and that's when you get taken advantage of, like anything else. And so to understand the basic fundamentals of investing is so important here. And there's so much opportunity in front of us, it's not even funny.
Yeah, and I mean, also, I think if you've been in crypto for the length of time that we have, chances are you've probably been in a couple of scams yourself.
Oh yeah,
probably lost a couple of Bitcoin along the way. I know I have, right? So, yeah, and I think that that's a very, very good point. Making sure that you're not getting involved in any of these scams, and what that sounds like is a trading bot that's giving you 10% back every week or whatever that is. Like, that is most times a scam. Also making sure that you have your cryptocurrency, if you have it on an exchange, that it's on a good exchange, right? That it's on one of these better exchanges out there, not on a, let's say, not such a good exchange, right? What exchanges would you recommend, Steph?
Coinbase. I mean, we're very restricted in the United States right now. So, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, if you're willing to set up a DeFi wallet, obviously, MetaMask is one of the top DeFi wallets. There's a bunch of other wallets out there now. Obviously, it also depends what playground you want to play in terms of networks. One thing that I would say is, though, don't have all of your crypto holdings in one space, one wallet, one exchange. If you can diversify the risk, God forbid, in the event that one of those exchanges went out of business, it would hurt for a little while, but it wouldn't take you out of the market in general.
I think diversifying is key. And I also think that part of that would take, any good cryptocurrency, especially if it's a designer crypto like Solana or Ethereum or Bitcoin, to be putting it on a cold storage wallet, which is like a removable hard drive, essentially, where you're taking the crypto off of the exchange and putting it somewhere safe, hopefully, and not too safe where you can't find it. And also making sure that your seed phrases are in a place where you can find them and you can then access your accounts or access your crypto holdings. Right? All right, awesome. Well, I think that we covered, especially for a beginner, anybody who is new to the space, I think that we covered a lot of information. Thank you so much for coming onto the show today, Stephanie. And I think that we'll probably end up doing this a few more times in the future, schedules permitted, and I look forward to having you again.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Have a good day. Bye-bye.